Max, can I ask you something that might be uncomfortable?
Those are always your best questions. Go ahead.
Do you ever look at people your age or younger and feel like they are somehow ahead of you? Like they figured something out that you missed?
Honestly, yes, more than I like to admit.
And what does that feel like exactly?
Like being on a train and looking out the window and seeing another train pulling ahead and wondering, when did that happen? I did not notice it passing me.
And then you start checking. Where are they? Where am I? What have they done that I have not? What do they have that I do not?
And somehow, in that comparison, you always lose.
Always. Because you are comparing their entire visible life to your entire internal experience. Their achievements to your doubts, their highlight reel to your unedited footage.
And it is not a fair comparison. But it does not feel unfair in the moment. It just feels true.
Today, we are talking about that feeling, where it comes from, why it is almost never an accurate reflection of reality, and how to finally stop measuring your life against someone else's timeline.
Welcome to Real Life English, the podcast. I'm Max.
And I'm Emma. And today's episode is how to stop feeling behind in life.
Today, you are getting 3 things. First, the real reason you feel behind and why the feeling is almost always misleading. Second, what it actually means to be on your own timeline. And third, deep natural English vocabulary to talk about life, comparison, and self-worth.
B1 and B2 level today. But honestly, if you have ever felt behind, this episode is for you.
Subscribe if you are new. Every single week, we are here.
And your comment homework today, tell us, is there one area of your life where you feel most behind? Just name it, one word or one sentence. We read every single comment, .max. I want to start with something that I think sits at the root of this whole feeling.
Go ahead.
The feeling of being behind only exists because of a benchmark. Benchmark means a standard or reference point against which other things are measured and compared.
And where does the benchmark come from?
Other people. Mostly. The people around you. The people on your screen. The people your parents talk about. The people whose lives are presented as evidence of what is possible and what is normal at a certain age.
By 30 you should have. By 40 you should be.
And these benchmarks are presented as if they are universal, as if they apply to everyone equally, as if there is one timeline that all human lives are supposed to follow.
But there is not.
There is not. There never was. The idea of a standard life timeline is remarkably recent and remarkably narrow and remarkably shaped by a very specific set of cultural and economic circumstances.
Which do not apply to most people on Earth.
And yet, most people measure themselves against this benchmark and find themselves behind it and feel the specific pain of that gap.
I want to share something personal here.
Please.
When I was in my late 20s, I had a very clear picture in my head of where I should be by 30. And as 30 approached, I was not there. I was nowhere near there by the picture I had.
And how did that feel?
Like failure. like I had made wrong turns somewhere and lost time, like everyone else was moving forward and I was somehow stuck.
And were you?
No, looking back now, I was exactly where I needed to be. I was learning things that would matter enormously later. I was building foundations that are still holding things up today.
But at the time, you could not see that.
Because I was measuring against the wrong thing, against a timeline I had absorbed without choosing, against other people's visible progress that had no relationship to my actual path.
And the word for what you were doing, it is comparison. And comparison is one of the most reliable ways to feel inadequate. Inadequate means not good enough, not measuring up to what is required.
No matter how good things actually are.
No matter. Because comparison does not measure your real situation. It measures the distance between where you are and where you think you should be. And that distance is almost entirely constructed.
Constructed meaning made up.
Made up by you, based on information that was never designed to help you.
Okay, so the benchmark is constructed. The comparison is misleading, but the feeling is still real. And just knowing it is constructed does not make it disappear.
No, it does not. And I think this is where a lot of well-meaning advice fails.
How?
It tells you, stop comparing yourself. Just focus on your own journey. Do not look at other people's timelines. And people hear that and think, yes, you are right, and then check Instagram 5 minutes later and feel behind again.
Because the intellectual understanding does not change the emotional habit.
Exactly. So the question is not just, should I stop comparing? The question is, what do I actually replace it with?
And what is the answer?
Your own metrics. Metrics means the specific measurements you use to evaluate something. Your own metrics, not someone else's.
So instead of measuring your life against the standard benchmark, you measure it against something you actually chose.
Against your own values. Your own definition of a good life. Your own version of progress.
I want to gently push back here.
Go ahead.
I think choosing your own metrics sounds simple and is actually quite hard. Because most people do not know what their own values actually are. They know what they are supposed to value, but not what they genuinely do.
That is a really important distinction. What you are supposed to value and what you actually value are often very different things.
And if you build your metrics around what you were supposed to value, you are still measuring against someone else's standard. Just a slightly more personal-sounding version of it.
So the real work is figuring out, what do I actually care about? What does a good day look like to me? What would a good year look like? Not to anyone else. To me.
And that question requires real honesty. And often, real courage. Because the honest answer is sometimes different from what you have been telling yourself.
And here is the counterintuitive truth. The people who seem most at peace with their lives, they are almost never the ones who have achieved the most by conventional measures.
Really?
They are the ones who have the clearest sense of what they are building toward. And why? And who defined those targets themselves.
Conventional means following the usual or traditional standards, what most people consider normal and expected.
And conventional measures of success, wealth, status, position, particular milestones at particular ages, they are useful for some people and completely irrelevant for others.
but we treat them as universal. And then everyone who does not fit them feels behind.
Even when they are doing exactly what they should be doing for their specific life.
And the saddest version of this is someone who spends their whole life feeling behind on a race they did not choose to enter.
Running as fast as they can toward a finish line they never wanted to reach in the first place. Let us talk about something important, because the feeling of being behind, it is shaped enormously by culture, and the benchmarks are different everywhere.
In some cultures, the main benchmark is family, marriage, children, the extended household. A person who is not married by a certain age is seen as behind, regardless of anything else they have achieved.
And in other cultures, the benchmark is career, financial success, position and title. A person without those things is seen as behind.
And the cruel thing is, you can be ahead on one benchmark and behind on another. And society often focuses on whichever one you are missing.
There is always a gap. There is always something you do not have yet. And there is always someone ready to point at it.
If you are listening from South Asia, the Middle East, East Africa, Latin America, the family and marriage benchmarks are often particularly heavy.
The questions at family gatherings, the comparisons to cousins and neighbors, the weight of everyone's expectations about where you should be by now.
And carrying that weight is genuinely exhausting, even when you know intellectually that you are doing fine.
And we want to say something about that directly. Other people's benchmarks for your life are not your responsibility to meet.
Not your parents' benchmarks, not your culture's benchmarks, not the benchmarks of people who have never lived inside your specific set of circumstances.
You are the only person who has to live your life from the inside. Everyone else is observing from the outside.
And the view from the outside is always incomplete.
Always. And the only view that matters is the one from inside, from you.
All right, here is your practical framework. We are calling it the Personal Timeline Reset. 3 steps.
And our last word, fulfillment. A deep sense of satisfaction and meaning, the feeling that your life is genuinely worth living on its own terms. Example 1, she realized she had been pursuing success when what she actually wanted was fulfillment, and they were not the same thing at all. Example 2, fulfillment comes from living according to your own values, not from meeting other people's expectations of you. Did you catch that one?
We are at the end. And I want to say something I genuinely mean.
Go ahead.
You are not behind. You are on your own timeline, in your own story, moving at the speed that your specific life requires.
And someone else's pace is not evidence that yours is wrong. 3 steps. Not for everyone who is watching your life, just for you.
Step 1. Identify the benchmark you are using. When you feel behind, ask yourself, behind what exactly? Say it specifically. Behind where my college friend is. Behind where I thought I would be at this age. Behind what my parents expected.
Name the specific benchmark, because unnamed benchmarks are the most powerful ones. They operate invisibly. When you name them, you can see them, and when you can see them, you can question them.
Step 2. Ask, did I choose this benchmark? Is this timeline something I actually sat down and decided I wanted? Or did I absorb it from the environment without choosing it?
If you did not choose it, you are under no obligation to be measured by it.
Step 3. Choose one personal metric. Just one thing that you actually care about making progress on. Something that genuinely matters to you, not to anyone watching.
And measure your week against that. Just that. Not against the conventional benchmark, not against someone else's life, against the one thing you actually chose.
Let us hear some examples. Imagine someone called Fatima. She feels behind because she is not married yet and all her friends are. She names the benchmark. I am measuring against the expectation that I should be married by now. She asks, did I choose this? No. It was absorbed from her family and community. She chooses her personal metric. I want to feel that I am building genuine, honest, meaningful relationships. She measures her week against that. Progress on that metric. Real progress.
Or imagine someone called Kevin. He feels behind because his colleague got promoted and he did not. He names the benchmark. I am measuring against someone else's career progression. He asks, did I choose this? Not really. He chose his metric. I want to do work that I find genuinely interesting and that I am proud of. He measures his week against that and finds he is actually ahead.
Or maybe you. Tonight, name one benchmark you have been measuring yourself against. Ask, did I choose this? And then choose one metric that is actually yours.
Just one. And measure your next week against that. Only that. Word tour time. Max, start us off.
First, benchmark. A standard or reference point against which other things are measured and compared. Example 1. She realized she had been using other people's timelines as a benchmark for her own life, and those benchmarks had nothing to do with what she actually wanted. Example 2. The most useful benchmarks are the ones you choose deliberately, not the ones you absorb without noticing. Did you catch that one?
Next, inadequate. Not good enough. Not measuring up to what is required or expected. Example 1. He did not feel inadequate because of anything real. He felt inadequate because he was measuring himself against an impossible standard. Example 2. Feeling inadequate is almost always a measurement problem. Change the measure and the feeling changes. Did you hear that one?
Constructed. Made. Built by human choices and assumptions rather than being natural or universal. Example 1. The timeline of what you should have achieved by 30 is entirely constructed. It varies enormously across cultures and generations. Example 2. Once she understood that the pressure she felt was constructed, not inevitable, she started to question whether she had to accept it. Did you catch that?
Metrics. The specific measurements used to evaluate something, the things you use to decide whether you are making progress. Example 1, she changed her personal metrics from external achievements to internal ones, and suddenly her life looked very different. Example 2, the most important question is not whether you are meeting someone else's metrics, but whether you have chosen your own. Did you hear that one?
Conventional. Following the usual or traditional standards, what most people consider normal and expected. Example 1. He had achieved very little by conventional measures, but had built something that genuinely mattered to him. Example 2. Conventional success and personal fulfillment are not the same thing, and treating them as if they are causes enormous unnecessary suffering. Did you catch that?
Comparison. The act of measuring one thing against another, which when applied to people's lives almost always produces a distorted picture. Example 1, comparison is always unfair because you are comparing your internal experience to someone else's external presentation. Example 2, she caught herself in a comparison spiral and asked, am I comparing my real life to someone's curated highlight reel? Did you hear that one?
Timeline. The sequence and timing of events, the schedule of when things are supposed to happen. Example 1. She was 35 and had not followed the expected timeline, and she was finally beginning to understand that this did not mean she was behind. Example 2. Everyone's timeline is different. The only timeline that matters is the one built around your actual life. Did you catch that?
Milestones. Significant events or achievements that mark stages of progress, the things we use to measure how far we have come. Example 1, she had missed several of the conventional milestones, but had reached others that meant far more to her personally. Example 2, milestones are useful as landmarks. They become dangerous when we treat them as evidence of our worth. Did you hear that one?
Absorb. To take in something gradually without consciously choosing it. To learn or adopt something from your environment without realizing. Example 1. He had absorbed the belief that real success required wealth without ever consciously deciding to believe it. Example 2. Most of our deepest beliefs were absorbed before we had the awareness to question them. Did you catch that?
And if you did not choose it, you are free to choose a different one.
Not everyone else's finish line. Yours.
Name the benchmark, question whether you chose it, and then choose one metric that is actually yours.
Your comment homework. What is one area of life where you feel most behind? Just name it. Naming it is the beginning of releasing it.
And if this episode gave you something real today, share it with one person who is running on a timeline they never chose.
Thank you for being here. I'm Max.
And I'm Emma. You are not behind. You are exactly where your story needs you to be right now. And we will see you in the very next episode.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.